Did you hear that tweeting? Welcome to JJ's Home Living. Let's get ready to can some chicken. So I had frozen some of our birds that we processed ourselves. I'm going to put them in the roaster and I'm going to cook them down and then peel the chicken off of them. Now these aren't very big because they're not meat birds, but they're ones we incubated from our chickens that we had. So I'm gonna start with 4 and I'll shred it and then I'll see how many jars it will give me. And then I'll be able to gauge for next time how many chickens I need to do to can for the next processing. The chicken is done, so I'm gonna pull it apart and I'm gonna put it in a stock pot. And hopefully I can do it pretty fast so it stays hot. If not, I'll warm it up just a touch. And so I'll get this going here. So what I'm going to do is I have the chicken all picked through here. I'm going to leave the bones in here for now. And there's some good juice in here, so I'm going to put it in the pan and bring it up, warm it back up on the stove there. So I'm just going to tip that. I'm gonna get the chicken warmed up here, and I already have my water in my pot here. So I'm gonna get that flame going. Just so it gets warm just a little bit. And I have my tea kettle and it's full of hot water. So I'm gonna go ahead and warm up my jars. I don't think I'm gonna have very many, enough chicken to fill more than this, so we shall see. So I'm going to strain some of this broth into here to use in my jars to fill them up. Since I'm hot packing, I need hot broth to put in there. You can just use just plain water. But I'm going to put this in here and then probably add water to it because I don't think I'll have enough. If you were to raw pack, they tell you not to add any water to it because it will create its own juices. But since I have already cooked it, it already has all the juice right here in the pan. So I'm just going to scoop this out of here and then I'll get it warmed up. And have your bowl of vinegar water ready to wipe the rims down, so you'll have everything set. I just got a little bit of water to it, and I got my rag, I got my rings, and I got my lids and some hot water, and looks like everything's getting heated up pretty good. start canning. So my water here is steaming and it's getting pretty warm. So I just turned this on low flame because I don't want it to be boiling when I put my jars in there. I just want it to be warm because my jars are going to be warm. The food that's going in the jars are going to be warm. So I just want this just to be warm. All right, we're all set to go. And salt is always optional. You don't have to add salt, but I just do. And I just put a teaspoon in for this. Now, the meat instructions are that the headspace is 1 1/4 inches. And so this right here is about 1 inch. When you have your little gadget here, that's about 1 inch right to, can you see that right there? I don't know if you can see that, let's see. That's about 1 inch headspace right there. So you're gonna go down just a little bit further, right to where the bend starts for your 1 1/4 inches. And that should be pretty good to go. Okay, so I'm gonna use this. You can use a ladle or tongs, whatever works best for you, to get the meat in there. And again, I only did 4 chickens because I didn't know how much meat it was going to produce. So I may only end up with 3 quarts or 2 quarts. But this way I'll be able to gauge. And we had pretty small chickens, so I'm not going to pack it in there tight. It's going to be pretty, pretty loose. I think that's about good for that. And then I'm going to get the broth. Put the broth in there. Put that off. That looks pretty good. Right there. And then you're going to take your debubbler, run along the sides. See all those bubbles coming up? Let's get you over here. See all those bubbles coming up there? Let's see, this is 1 inch. Yep, so we're pretty good with that right there. And if you see chicken sticking out and you don't want it to stick out, just pull the piece out. It'll be fine. And it is normal to have even some of your meat showing when you can. And take your cloth and wipe off all that grease and chicken fat. And get your lid. And again, same time every time, just finger tight. Not cranking it down, just finger tight. And then we're going to place it over here in the canner and get us another jar. So this only gave me 3 quarts, which I don't like running a canner with just 3 quarts, but I didn't know how much it was really going to give me. So 4 of our little chickens, and they were little because they weren't meat birds, gave me 3 quarts. So now I know that next time I'll take out more and I'll roast more at a time. So this is a pressure canner. So on my canner, I have these little things right here. So you're setting your lid on there like this, and then you're gonna turn it. And when you turn it, mine's metal on metal, so I'm gonna look around right here and make sure that it's pretty even, because there's no seal on this one. There's no like rubber seal. It's metal against metal. This is an all-American canner, and it's an older one. And this is the dial gauge I was telling you about, and this is my vent. So I'm going to bring up this one, and then the opposite one is across from it, and I'm going to twist those at the same time. So I'm going to cut the camera off so I can do that. Then I'll do the same. I'll do this side and this one. So I have an even suction down on this lid. Okay, so now my lid is on. My little knobs are all in place and turned. I'm going to go ahead and turn up the heat a little bit. And then in about 10 minutes, this is going to start steaming. And I'll come back when that starts steaming real good.
When you see a steady stream of steam, you're going to set your timer for 10 minutes and let that vent out for 10 minutes. As soon as your timer is done, then you're going to put down your the vent, and then the pressure will start increasing from there.
So right now with this down, it's going to build up pressure, and I'm going to wait for it to get to 11 pounds because that's the altitude I'm at. It says that I need to be at 11 pounds. And once it hits 11 pounds, then I'll start my timer for 90 minutes. So when you have your dial gauge, you're going to watch it and make sure it stays on 11 or above. And you'll have to just adjust your flame accordingly. Now some of the pressure canners have a weighted gauge that go on top here, and it makes a little racket noise. And it should make like a racket noise like every so many seconds, and not like jittering like crazy. But if you have that kind, just read your instructions on your manual. This is my dial gauge right here, and I'm holding just a touch above 11 pounds, but that's okay for me. As long as I keep it there, I'll do good. So what I did with the leftover bones is I put them in here, and the rest of the broth, I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for tonight and cook this down, cover it with water tomorrow, and cook it down and drain the broth and just can the broth. The timer has gone off, so I cut the heat off, and I'm going to leave it in here and let the temperature come down by itself. I'm not going to lift that and let the steam escape. I'm going to let it go down naturally. Because if you don't, it can cause siphoning, which all the liquid, not all, but some of the liquid in the jar could potentially come and lift up out of the jar. And you don't want that, and that's called siphoning. So we're gonna let the heat go down slowly, and then after this is down to 0, then I'll lift this up, but I'll be back to show you that. So the pressure is down to 0, so I'm going to lift this up and let any steam that's in there out. And after that's out like that, then I'm going to do the same thing as when I sealed these. I'm going to unscrew the opposite ones, this one and this one at the same time, and work my way around the canner, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, so I got the knobs down, and then I'm just going to twist and just put it away from you so the steam doesn't come up in your face. And look at that, still bubbling. So I'm going to leave that in there for about another 5 minutes, so I don't just take it right out of that little bit of water that's in there and put it right on the counter. So far it doesn't look like there's any siphoning coming out of there. So I'm going to let it sit there, and then I'll be back. So I let them sit in here for about 10 minutes, and then I'm just going to take them out and put them on the towel here. And then tomorrow, hopefully, I'm going to do the broth. I'm going to boil down the bones and get some chicken stock canned. And there we go. And it will bubble like this for quite some time. Because we got that temperature up to 240, so make sure to wash and then take your rings off and label your jars so you know what they are. God bless. Thanks for watching.